Hello, namaste, sat sri akal, adab. Welcome back, everybody, to Crick Tracker's special show In the Air. My name is Niveka Prabhu. We are excited for the third T20I to be discussing with you. Now, before I dive into that, what are your predictions for the third one? The series is currently level, which means, of course, it gets more interesting from here on. So, आप सबका क्या कहना है इसके बारे में? क्या analysis है? क्या predictions है? मुझे सब बताइए in the comment section. And without wasting time, I have my two amazing guests joining me in the studios, Pratik Bhatt as well as Pratyay Tiwari, to get talking to me about this particular series between West Indies and India. लेकिन before I come to them, let's find out कि action कहाँ पे हो रहा है और कितने बजे हो रहा है. Luckily, there is no luggage issue this time around, or kids reaching, in the ground as well, or players as well. So let's take a quick look as to where the action is going to be happening. You could take a look at that on our screens, and then I'll get talking with my guests as well. So it is happening at the Warner Park, and this is the third T20I between West Indies versus India. Ek taraf, of course, it looks like West Indies has gained their momentum in the second game. What are the kind of changes that will be happening for both the teams? Are there going to be, any changes happening? What do our cricket guests think? हम सब पूछेंगे उनको. Let me bring on both of them in the studio. सबसे पहले प्रतीक भट्ट को पूछना चाहती हूँ. A little disappointed, Pratik, because you believe that India did. We thought that they would win the second one. Of course, some changes did not work in their favor as well. Some combination. What is your takeaway from last evening's game?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's good to see that West Indies got a win on board. First of all, I mean, they needed that. Of course, they came into the series on the back of 2-0 win over Bangladesh. But then again, across formats, they have been a little inconsistent. So getting this win is actually good for them, good for cricket overall, as I always say. Um, as far as India's performance is concerned, I think it was just one of those days when things just didn't work for the batters. And it was rightly exposed by the West Indian batters in the second innings. It was a tricky surface to bat on, but Brandon King showed that if you take some time out, you can get runs. It's hard to come by, but yeah, you can get runs. But I think as far as the lineup is concerned, I think India shouldn't make too many changes. It's just a matter of things going right for them, just a matter of few boxes ticking, which was the case in the first match, wasn't the case in the second match. Yeah.
All right. So for starters, of course, the fact that Zaid Ahmed has also commented that it's a five-match T20 series. It's not a decider. Of course, it's not a decider, but it makes the series far more interesting because we wouldn't want it to pan out like the ODI, jahan pe it's just one-sided. Also, they were close games, but the result, of course, was not something that we were anticipating for West Indies to catch up. But in the T20I format, kuch bhi ho sakta hai, like we say. So what do you all have to say about that in terms of predictions? Tell me in the comments. I'm coming to you, Pratyay, on one particular thing that even Rohit Sharma spoke about was, that changing of that combination of openers for Team India. He said that the reason why he wanted this was to have more versatility. They want to ensure that everybody is able to contribute in whatever level, right? But do you think this is the time to be experimenting? Or is it being seen too closely because it's a loss? Because we always say if it was a win, then this would have been appreciated. So what is your take?
Well, very, very true. Now, because whenever you win, I mean, you don't talk about the negatives as much, and these are the things that kind of cloaked under the celebrations. But when you lose, then you start to analyze, you start to dig in things, what went wrong, what went right. So, of course, from that perspective, you might say that okay, you do not want to tinker that much. But to answer your question, whether India should be wanting to experiment at the moment, this is exactly the time to experiment because every single time we are talking about this format, there will inevitably come that question of the T20 World Cup, which is not too far away. So this is exactly the time to experiment, try and test out a few combinations. I was listening to him yesterday at the toss. What I did not quite understand, one takeaway from that was that he was speaking about flexibility, which is great. I mean, of course, you want your batting order to be flexible. You want batters to know how to bat out of their positions because you do not want a player who cannot play in the middle order. If he's sent up the order, he just cannot perform. So, of course, from that perspective, it bodes very well if you have players who can be a little flexible. But under this era, under the Dravid and Rohit era, as we are calling it, in that particular era, we have also been seeing that there's a lot of role clarity. Every player has been told that this is what we expect from you. This is what the kind of role is being given to you. So these both of these things, you cannot target them simultaneously because they are kind of contradictory. Either you can be flexible or you can have role clarity, because if you're giving a role clarity, then you perhaps would not want to tinker that much. So India needs to kind of find a right balance. But yes, of course, experimenting as far as that is concerned, these are great games, because of course every game that India plays, all the fans, all the supporters, every cricket enthusiast from the Indian camp would want them to win. But even if you're losing in the process, trying to, a couple of games here and there, even if they are lost, and you by the learnings of those, if you go and end up winning the World Cup, then I think you have done and achieved a lot. So I don't think India would be too worried with the result of yesterday's game.
All right, so let's ask our audience this, right? First, the conversation was also about the playing 11 and the changing and chopping that was happening. So not many people were pleased with that. But where do you all stand with the fact that ये जो experiment हो रहा है with, of course, Rohit Sharma as the skipper has said why it's happening. आप सबका personal opinion क्या है? Where do you all stand with this? Tell me that in the comment section. I already see a comment coming in from Sumit saying no more changes with opening pair. World Cup only 2 months away. So he's making it very clear that this is how he would, be standing on this particular, topic. Because I think initially the reason why we're digging deep into this as well was because you're first trying to find your opening combination that will work, then you're tinkering that as well. But like Pratyas also pointed out, whenever it's a loss, I think you look at it with a magnifying glass. Otherwise, you're really comfortable with any choice if it's a win. But getting further talking about the game, let's find out ki head-to-head kya dikh raha hai, as well as approaching milestone in the third T20I between Westindies versus India. Let's take a quick look at the head-to-head as well as the approaching milestones in today's game. Head-to-head, 22 matches. West Indies have won 7, India have won 14, no result 1. Moving on to the approaching milestones. The approaching milestones, we have all of this on our screens right now. Do we have any more approaching milestones? And Pratik, over to you. Which one do you think is the most possible, or which one do you think you're looking forward to?
Okay. First of all, none of these milestones look like an easy feat. Hardik Pandya needs to take one more wicket. I think that would be good for him because he has not been particularly among wickets in the series so far. So yeah, getting one wicket would be good. And Nicholas Pooran needs to take one more catch to reach 50 catches in international cricket, which is also likely. Then again, in the ODI series when Dhawan required only 2 fours, I said that was going to be very likely, and it's his USP to score 2 fours, which is something that did not happen. Then again, these are not easy feats, and I'm not going to make a call on this.
All right, so Pratik is playing it extremely safe by telling. Pratik is playing it extremely safe by telling us that he's not going to be, taking that one. But if anybody else would want to tell me कि approaching milestones में आपके हिसाब से कौन सा possible होगा, if you want to take a guess, do that in the comments. Before I dive into other aspects of the game, let me quickly take this analysis by Ronald, who says, I can't find any meaning in experimenting with Pant or Sky as an opener or trying Jaddu in front of DK. Before the World Cup starts, it's always better to play every player at their neutral position. This is how I'm pretty sure most of the Indian cricket fans are feeling. Pratyay, would you beg to differ? Do you think what would you like to tell Ronald about his analysis here?
Well, Ronald's is, of course, is another school of thought, because I think that yes, you want, as I said, that flexibility is a good thing, because it can work wonders for you. You never know. I mean, at the last moment, at the 11th hour, if a player has to pull out because of injury, or if you have to suddenly kind of make a change in your batting combination, you don't want yourself to get stuck in a situation where you have batters who are not being able to bat in that position. Because if you say right now, if you see Pant, he is of course someone who can bat at the death, and now he's opening as well. So he is bringing you two facets. Hardik Pandya, we have seen him doing the finisher's job since long, and he batted at number 4 for the Gujarat Titans. So again, you know that, okay, here's another player who can perhaps give you that kind of a position that if you need him, perhaps he can slot in the middle order, or he can kind of take up the finishing role. Jadeja again has been in and out, up and above. He has been fluctuating as well, and whichever position he has been given, he has been performing there as well. Surya Kumar Yadav, right from his Mumbai Indian days, we are seeing him that he's someone who can float around very easily. You ask him to open, he opens. Bat number 3, yes, fine. Number 5, all right, I'll do that. So he's that kind of a player. You just ask him to do, he does it. So I think from that perspective, of course, this experimentation needs to stop, because as you inch closer, because there's another big tournament coming up, Asia Cup. So I think there, I don't think that India would be tinkering as much as they are doing with the batting combinations right now. But given the fact that these are bilateral series, there's not a lot riding. I mean, even the game yesterday, people questioned Rohit's decision to give Avesh Khan when you had a couple of overs of Bhuvneshwar Kumar left. So why Avesh Khan? That is exactly what he ended up answering, that these are the moments where you want to test these players, because you cannot ask Avesh Khan to bowl in the nets and think that he is defending 10. You can put him
Right.
into the match situation, and then you can try those things. So of course, not to say that I disagree with Ronald's point, but to find certain answers, of course, you will have to experiment, because that is the only way you can find the answers.
All right. So if you don't experiment, if you don't try enough, then you wouldn't know which combination would work for you. That's probably a interesting way to put it across. But let's find out in this particular match as well, who are the players to watch out for from both the teams, West Indies ki taraf se as well as Team India. Let's take a quick look at what the stats are looking like as well, and who are these players. Nicholas Pooran, 62 matches, has amassed 1,333 runs. His highest being 74 not out. India ki taraf se player to watch out would be Surya Kumar Yadav, no surprises for guessing, 572 runs, 21 matches, high score 117. All right, since we're talking about experimenting as well, Pradeep, where do you stand with the position of, where Surya Kumar Yadav should be batting? If you had to experiment, would you still want to see him as an opener?
I'm not a big fan of Surya Kumar Yadav opening the innings. He has done particularly well batting in the middle, and also at number three on some occasions. He also scored a century in England batting in the middle. Uh, yeah, these little differences I'm not a fan of, because I'm not particularly sure how good he is against a new ball. We have not seen much of him batting in the power play against a new ball. He's someone who has that cricketing intelligence, if I may call it, batting in the middle when you know the team when he just needs to come in and set the pace of the innings and bat accordingly when the chips are down or when India requires some quick runs. He's someone who stands there, takes the responsibility, and takes India over the line. Someone who is capable of doing that. And when you make someone like that open the innings, not someone who has done that often, uh, yeah, it's not something. I think it's a little unsettling for me, if you ask me. So yeah, I wouldn't see him. I'm not a big fan of him opening the innings. Yeah.
All right. So, who do you, let's ask if anybody in our, viewers are actually fans of watching Surya Kumar Yadav open. Clearly, I don't think Pratyay and Pratik both are not fans of this, probably sticking to the original choice of opening combination for Team India. But what do you also think that Nicholas Pooran ka strategy kya hoga? Of course, they've had momentum in the previous game. Do you think West Indies would win the 30-20 as well? What do all of you think? Tell me that in the comments. Talking about the toss, India have won the toss and opted to bowl. Rohit Sharma has said, not looking at the conditions, just what the team prefers to do. More sixes in the power play last match. There's always a talk about capitalizing the power play. We also know what comes with it. It's a small ground, a six-hitting ground, but to be honest, the average score here is not that big. When the guys have been given freedom to express themselves, we understand what comes with a high-risk shot. All right, considering the fact that India has won the toss, I'll come to you, Pratyay. Bowling choices, do you see any changes happening? If yes, who are we looking at?
Maybe not in this game, because I think the turnaround time is really, really very quick. I mean, it barely feels the last game got over, and we are kind of discussing the new one again, thanks
Yeah.
to all the delay and luggage and logistics issues. So maybe not in this one, because there are a couple of games to go as well. And I don't think that India really needs to panic with that loss, because I think that despite the loss, I mean, there were plenty of positives in the game. Because I think, yes, the total was not very convincing after batting first. You would have wanted to perhaps add another 10-20, which could have made it a winning total. But I still
Yeah.
think India did well to kind of drag that game that deep, because at one stage you would not have perhaps imagined that it will go down right down to the wire in the last over. And never know. I mean, had it not been for that no ball, because it kind of changed the momentum completely. He was hit for a six, Avesh on the next ball. So maybe things could have, you never know, could have changed around as well. Although 10 is difficult to kind of defend, but still.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there is any as such any need to make the changes. But from a personal point of view, I would have wanted to see Ravi Bishnoi on this particular track. Even yesterday, I think Rohit at the toss was saying that he is unfortunately missing out. He has to sit out because of the combinations. From that perspective, maybe India could have tried to maybe sit out another senior player, because Ravi Bishnoi is a young talent. You perhaps would want to give him more game time instead of those players who have already around 70, 80 matches behind their back. So from that
Right.
perspective, we Ravi Bishnoi could have been included. But maybe I won't be very surprised if India goes unchanged today.
All right, what do you all think? Do you think there should be combinations? We'll come to the playing 11 the minute we have it. लेकिन अगर आपको कुछ बोलना है combination के बारे में, even for West Indies, tell me that in the comment section. I see an update coming in saying that Jadeja gets some rest. Finally, for all you people who are waiting for Deepak Huda, he is going to be in. I'm pretty sure Chris Srikanth is super happy to be seeing Team India getting in Deepak Huda. Now the pressure is of course extra. We saw what he did in the ODI series, but will he be able to capitalize on this opportunity? वो देखना पड़ेगा. What is West Indies gone with in terms of combination? I'll come to that in a bit. But Nicholas Pooran has said wicket got slow in the second innings yesterday, so want to put up a respectable first innings score here. We utilized the conditions well with the ball. We continuously look for wickets, and certain things went our way yesterday. So Pratik, I'll come to you on the fact that Pooran looks like they have gained that momentum. There is confidence. Winning that game. Do you think even today their bowling could be a little stronger than their batting? What is your takeaway from that?
I'm not too sure about that. I think it was a complete performance yesterday. They had the target in hand and they paced it beautifully. Yes, India, like Pratya said, tried to make a match out of a very low target to different, which was great to see. And it could have gone either way going into the very last over of the match. But I think all in all, West Indies, it was a complete all-round performance. It was a clinical performance from them, and particularly about bowling, I think yet again we saw a left-armer dominate the Indian top order, which is not quite good to see for an Indian fan. We have seen this time and again, and yeah, we knew this going into the game that this was going to be a pace-friendly game, and yeah, I think Pacers, McCoy, and Holder, they were really they made the most of the surface that was an offer. And yeah, as far as the overall balance goes, once again, I think Brandon King showed that although it was a tricky surface to bat on, he took his time out, paced his innings beautifully, got out in the 15th or 16th over with West Indies requiring only 32 runs in over 4 overs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a clinical performance by the Indies.
All right, will they be able to get that clinical performance and coming together once again? वो तो देखना पड़ेगा. We'll also, like I said, get into the playing 11 once we have it. But if all of you want to make any sort of predictions, please do so in the comment section. We'll also move on to what the player battle that we can look forward to in this particular match, and also head over to social tracker after that. So first, let's take a quick look कि कौन सा player battle है इस match में, जहाँ पे we can watch an exciting duo over here. It is King versus Bhuvi, 24 runs, and there have been 2 dismissals in the T20Is overall, with him having faced 29 balls. Okay, that is the player battle to watch out for. If you guys are looking forward to any other player battle, share that with me in the comments. Let's move on to social tracker to find out what everybody's tweeting and what everybody's looking forward to about the third T20I between West Indies versus India. Most T20I dismissals on a single digit score: 42 Kevin O'Brien, 41 Rohit Sharma, Mushfiqur Rahim 38, Shahid Afridi 37, and 36 Mahmudullah. Okay, we also have another one saying that please Rohit and co don't experiment with Sky's batting position. Let him play at 5. All right, so I did ask all of you to tell me what do you think about the combinations and if it should be experimented with. Looks like Twitter has given their clear signal that they don't want Sky to be experimenting with their batting position. But dekhte hain aaj what Rohit Sharma and co decide about that. In terms of a change coming in for West Indies, Dominic Drake's in for Odion Smith. So I'll come to you, Pratyay. Is this something that you were looking at or anticipating in terms of them making a change?
Yes, Pratik already mentioned a very fair point that India struggle against left armers. We have seen that happening with Mohammad Amir. Then we saw with Shaheen Afridi, Trent Bolt, Reece Topley more recently, and now McCoy doing it. So from that perspective, yes, Drake's coming in, another left-arm medium kind of a pacer. So I think yes, that would be a cause of concern. I don't think really that India would be too worried about this, but what my assessment stand is that some or the other reason in big matches, in big tournaments, something or the other happens where just left armers kind of come and dominate. It's again one of those bowling types that we really do not have. We do not have as many left arm pacers as compared to right arm pacers. So it's generally a variety that perhaps the batters are not very used to playing because there are not too many left armers around. I think maybe that has got something to do with the struggle of it. But I think India have a couple of good left arm options in their ranks at the moment. and I think they can help him. I mean, of course, if you have them, you can kind of practice in the nets, kind of try to understand, because right arm, it's always going to be a unfavorable matchup for right-handed batters.
Right.
And Indian batting lineup specifically, which is more right-handed dominated, from that perspective, it's always going to be a point which they will have to watch out for. So I think it's a good test again. Not too much of a turnaround time, as I said, because back-to-back games and very short time. So I think India would be wanting to be wary with what they saw. 6 wickets, it's a massive feat. Ovid McCoy did it, so I think they would want to make some amends. And good thing is that they are chasing today, so perhaps they will have the target in front of them. You know what a great Indian side when it comes to chasing, India is always great. So I think they will have an upper hand in this game, perhaps.
All right, talking about the game, it has come to our notice that the playing 11 is ready. So let's take a quick look as to see what the playing 11 combination is looking like for both the teams. This is what both the teams are looking like in terms of playing 11. Before we wrap up, Prateek, just to summarize this for our viewers, these are the combinations for both the teams. Do you think it's well balanced on both the sides?
I think so. The bowling combination, of course, is going to be different this time because Jadeja isn't there, and Deepak Huda is more of a batting all-rounder who bowls a few overs here and there. So I think that is something that I'm curious about. Maybe uh, Hardik Pandya and Deepak Huda would together bowl 4 overs, and then India has a very settled bowling lineup with other four bowlers. And the batting, once again, like I said, I think it's just a matter of time before they click again. It was just one off game. And as far as West Indies is concerned, like Pratyay mentioned, I think this would be a good battle to look at. Another left armer in Dominic Drake's coming in. So yeah, I think after winning the second game, they did not call for too many changes for West Indies, which is why I think it's going to be a good battle yet again.
All right. Now, the word, of course, is being that the battle is going to be interesting. And it's interesting because out of the five matches right now, one has been won by each team, which means that the competition gets far more interesting. Now, Prateek and Pratyay have given us our opinions. You all have joined me on the particular show to talk about what your analysis is looking like. On that very note, I want to thank all of you for joining me in the studios, as well as Prateek and Pratyay for taking the time out to be predicting what they think is going to be happening in the third T20I. लेकिन actual result क्या होगा वो मैच के बाद ही पता चलेगा. But for all the latest news and the views in the world of cricket, don't forget to follow Crick Tracker. We will see you on the other side very soon.